And ain't no gift like a bag of beignets.
And advice from Mitch. Welcome to the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G, master of hot tub placement. I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills. We're going to break down the latest episode of Barry. Are you ready to get on the freeway?
It depends on the freeway, man. Cards on the table, I damn near have a panic attack every time I even have to think about I-95, because I-95 kills. I'm Magnum Mills. Thank you again for checking out the Barry Podcast. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, do so. Same thing for the YouTube channel. Please leave a comment, 5 stars. You can send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. And hey, it's another episode of Barry.
And please remember, we will be spoiling all aired episodes of Barry, as well as any articles, interviews, podcast appearances, you name it. We will not be discussing any leaks or rumors, just every episode up through episode 6 of season 3, 710N. Mills, pull out your little red card and give us the details of this episode.
That's a little bit of a flex, right? The red cards by Fuchs. I like the touch for Kenneth Goulet there. This is episode 6 of season 3, 710N, originally aired Sunday, May 29, 2022, directed by show co-creator, co-runner Bill Hader, written by Duffy Boudreau. This is the third written by credit for him on Barry. He had previously the credits on Make the Unsafe Choice and What? Short plot synopsis. Fuchs' schemes finally catch up to him. The Taylors hunt for Barry, and Barry plans to reconnect with old friends.
That sets the stage for us to break down this episode of Barry right here, right now on the Barry Podcast. And once again, the episode does not start slowly.
No, it does not. We open on the outskirts of LA, where Fuchs is showing Tracy and her biker friends where her brother Taylor was going to install a hot tub. Fuchs blames everything on Barry and gives him Barry's address. Out of nowhere, one of the bikers takes out a gun and shoots Fuchs in the chest, and they leave him on the ground, bleeding out.
I got to admit, dude, I didn't see this coming at all. It was, I don't know.
Did you think he was dead?
Abrupt. Well, the way, yes. Part of me was like, I can't believe they just killed off Fuchs. That's literally what I said. Like, did they really just kill off Fuchs? But there was no movement. Now, the one thing I will say, to take a gunshot to the chest, not nearly enough blood. There was very little blood. It was
close
just
range too. This was maybe 6 feet. This was not a fairly close.
That wouldn't have been a flesh wound. Like, there should have been blood like leaking out his side there. Disappointed in that. That's the only thing that I thought, like, all right, maybe he's not dead. But the way he was laying there, stone cold, not breathing, not moving, like, shit, man, Fuchs might be dead.
I thought that was, if it was, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're going to kill Fuchs in the teaser here in the cold open. This is nuts. Listening to Bill Hader, he did say that he just figured no one would actually believe that they would dare do that. So he just figured everyone would assume Fuchs was going to survive. I didn't. I respect the show enough that they could kill somebody like that. Who knows? Maybe it's some kind of psychological warfare where you soften this up, whether they're actually going to kill someone in the cold open, or we'll be like, oh no, he'll live. Remember when Fuchs lived? And then he won't. And we'll be like, oh shit.
Dude, I will say there was a couple of good quotes in here. The one biker,
right there, right up there, that's where your brother wanted to put a hot tub. It was his dream.
And he gave Berkman $1,700?
Yeah, it sounded like a game changer to me, but Berkman, he was against it.
What kind of dick says no to a hot tub right there?
I don't know. What? You're fucking crazy, right? It's absolutely nuts.
Always
selling. He's always selling. That might have been the last thing Fuchs actually said.
That would have been some crazy. Yeah, that would have been his last words in theory. And for the record, did a little research, and I don't know how that hot tub was actually going to get water and electricity up there or whatever. But for the record, major spa manufacturer Hot Spring says that a new hot tub can cost between $4,000 and $20,000. So $1,700. That's like the used version of the cheapest hot tub, maybe. I'm still not convinced that the $1,700 for a hot tub was enough. Well, if Fuchs is making up a number, why was $1,700? Why so specific? I gotta think for that.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't he say $4,000? Why not? He's lying. Who gives a shit? Like, wouldn't $4,000 be even easier to sell than 1,700? It's just such a specific number.
Based on now that Fuchs was fine and kind of how he gets brought back and then where we see it go. This isn't terrible, but like, I'm not going to lie, based on kind of where they went with it, I'm not a huge fan of the Fuchs thing, man. It's like, I wish they would.
He should have died based on the gunshot and being left there for even the timeline here. Like, these bikers leave, they're going to Barry's house. We see that later in the episode. Theoretically, Fuchs heals in, I don't know, 6 hours. It does appear that he goes, like, passes out at night and wakes up the next morning. But we're talking about, not only does he survive, he's basically fully healed, it appears, in 18 hours tops. That's some Wolverine shit right there.
I mean, look, man, I love natives and the native medicine, but that's a stretch.
It would have helped if we would have even seen some crazy shit. Like, they give him anything to make it a little bit more plausible. It just seems like they pulled the bullet out, bandaged him up, and no antibiotics, no real pain. The next day he's going to, like, he rode into town in the truck. Apparently he's helping with the errands already. The timeline here doesn't make much sense. I'm glad that Stephen Root's still on the show, so I'm not going to complain too much. But then they should have just done the thing where it looks like he shot him in the head, but it grazed him or something. There's another way to do this that basically does the same thing, that's just not as unbelievable as getting shot in the chest.
Yeah, or it just went directly through or something. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with that. After that, we're back at the LEPD, and we see Albert, Detective May Dunn, and our boy Big Cat are working through the case. May notes that Fernando's body was found in the bombing. Albert deduces that they arrived at plants as the Bolivians were getting revenge. This means that NoHo Hank planted the bomb and killed the Bolivians.
Las Aquilas.
Big Cat doesn't buy that, though. This sounds like the work of the Raven. Arrgh! Albert disagrees and hypothesizes that the true culprit must have military training.
That's what he said. You got to give credit to Albert again, being hyper competent, and also credit to the Big Cat, true to who he is. He's all in on the Raven thing. He's not going to be talked out of it. Evidence be damned. He also had the great line when he's pointing to the pictures, like the surveillance pictures they have.
NoHo is soft. Look at the way he dresses. He is not the bomb planting type. This was the Raven.
And then Albert gets and this is, Rumpelstiltskin's always a fun one, but this one is just.
Okay, look. You think Rumpelstiltskin over here could take out a whole monastery of goons all by himself? No, I ain't buying it. No.
And then Big Cat's retort is just right on point.
Well, how do we know Rumpelstiltskin over here isn't some kind of badass? I mean, look at his jacket, right? It's leather and it's cool.
Big fan of Big Cat. Let's keep him in the mix, dude. That's a very
we did have some other supporting characters show up in this episode, so it was nice to get some Big Cat. Just a little bit of comic relief. Was feeling that. Don't know what logo we picked though, so disappointed we don't know what logo we wound up picking.
When I saw Albert kind of say ex-military and then immediately, kind of stop in his tracks, you can kind of see him working through his thoughts and thinking. I obviously, because we know he already identified Barry, he already said that they served together. To me, it automatically went that he's thinking Barry here. I
tend to agree with you. We'll see in the next scene here. He is at least pretending to not know that Barry's still in LA. So maybe that's not possible. I think the show's playing it pretty close to the vest as far as Albert is concerned. We'll just go right there right now, because it basically flows from this scene. Albert leaves the police station. He goes to visit Sharon, the widow of Barry's friend Chris, who Barry killed back in season 1. Albert asks about Barry, and Sharon tells him that he's still in LA and he's taking acting classes, which surprises Albert. Sharon suggests that they should all get together and says that she will call Barry. Not a lot here, really. You get a nice little call from Albert, like, Barry Berkman, the human ice machine, is taking acting classes. At least I think that gives you an idea of his character prior to the show a little bit. He was probably a real kind of quiet, weird dude, which seems to track. Yeah, that's the one thing, I guess, the question here is, how suspicious is Albert really of Barry at this point? We can't tell, right? It could be anything from he came here specifically to check out Barry, or it just all happens to be a legitimate coincidence. I would buy either, but the show doesn't want to seem to give us any hard evidence to point to either of those.
My suspicion and gut is that this is his way of doing his sleuthing detective work to try to get people involved in Barry, with Barry. One thing that was interesting enough that came up was, they didn't really talk about the death of Sharon's husband, Chris. They just kind of reminisced a little bit, and that was it. So I also thought that they did a really cool job with the shot. You finally got that full-on scar, and boy, oh boy, that's a doozy by our guy Albert. It is time to see what Sally is up to. And she's talking to Mitch, who apparently owns the best beignet spot on the West Coast, because the line is literally around the block. Sally explains her situation, and Mitch tells Sally his origin story, which may or may not have inspired Sally. After making her purchase, Sally heads outside. She meets up with Lindsay, who immediately goes to work on a beignet. I'm talking just savage. She wants Sally to take a meeting with Banshee, but Sally has her doubts.
I think it's beignet. We are notoriously poor with our pronunciation. I tried this a bunch of times. I think it's beignet. I just don't want to insult Mitch, because you know what? I love Mitch. I don't love him quite as much as the Detonate app, or maybe Faye from Detonate. I just love, again, his tone and everything. And I got a little bit of just kind of the way he deadpans, kind of. I got a little bit of kind of a Mitch Hedberg vibe. You think maybe they named him Mitch after Mitch Hedberg?
I would love it if they did. He is just,
I can see them doing that. That seems like something the writers of this show, they would be Mitch Hedberg. Heads, or I don't know what your heads, whatever.
They do such a good job too. If you kind of see somebody just like, you're not really sure who they're talking to, and they're kind of unloading, and you don't know what the scene's going to be, and then the camera angle flips. And just the way the angle was on Mitch, and he's just kind of like looking out and up. It's just perfect. Great job to the writers. This is just fantastic.
Yeah, basically just roll the clip on this one. We can't do it justice.
And then this algorithm killed my show. I'm just feeling really lost, And now my agent wants me to go and take a meeting at Banshee.
You don't work with those dudes.
I know.
Yeah, I used to be a baker at this kick-ass churro shop in Eagle Rock. And it's cushy as fuck. Like, I could have rode that shit forever. But I knew I had to level up to beignets. A lot of the churro dudes were like, rein in your ambitions, Mitch. But I was like, nah. And now, and I say this in all humility, my place is the shit. And that's all because I believed in my own abilities.
I never really thought about it that way.
I know.
Originally, when I watched this, you see Lindsay, and she's housing the beignet, right? And she's walking. I thought she shoved some lady. No. This lady tried to grab the box of beignets out of Lindsay's hand, and she fought back. Like, this is... I mean, I guess the joke's probably, I know this happens with some places now, especially there's a donut shop in Philly that's like this. They only do a limited number of things, and it's a crazy weight. But there's definitely some soup Nazi vibes here a little bit.
There's a cult.
Although Mitch would probably let you order however you wanted. I don't think Mitch would be the kind of guy who'd make you order, like a form letter.
Mitch remembers like everybody and their problems, dude. Like, he's basically a therapist and the best freaking beignet guy.
Yeah, we'll touch on that as we go through, because I think that's, again, that maybe the beignets aren't what people are going for. It's like the extra anchovies, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Shout out Loverboy. And dude, I will say there was another mention of dipping sausage, which was cool. After one of the great titles of the season, all the sauces.
Oh, well, then it comes back around at the end too, because that's a Sharon Poison's Barry with the sauce. Yeah. So
yep. What did you put?
Nice little bit
dude?
of writing, bringing it back all the way around. Love that. Pretty much takes care of the first Mitch scene. After that, we see Barry is awoken by a call from Sharon trying to set up that dinner. She tells him that she's organizing a dinner from some of the vets from her charity. It's tonight, and she wants Barry to attend. Barry gladly accepts her offer. You get the feeling she could have basically said anything, and Barry would have said, yes, this is great for him, Barry says. He also says that he knows just the thing to bring with him, and it's going to be great. When he goes to end the call, Barry awkwardly says, I love you. Sharon seems to be understanding, but is also obviously very confused.
Hater here with just great awkwardness and I love too, though, immediately, like, again, great writing. We knew from previous episodes that he didn't really have a room. He had a tiny spot on the floor in which he would sleep. And so the phone rings, he's clearly sleeping, and he, right away picks up and answers, and he's right there kind of on his spot in the floor. And you see, the corner where they're doing all the green screen and that, and all their stuff that they're doing that they've turned his room into a studio for. So I thought that was cool. I mean, Magnum Mills, have you ever accidentally told somebody you love them? I mean, it happens, man. I get it. He's coming out of a bad breakup. He's in a really dark place right now, but this is good for him.
So
maybe
I mean, probably more likely that I accidentally meant to text it to someone and send it to the wrong person or something like that. That seems more possible. And shout out, when he goes to pick up his phone, you see that someone actually has a Vegas Vacation, like the last National Lampoon Chevy Chase movie. They have a pint glass from Vegas Vacation. That's just so random. I feel like that had to have been someone's, they owned that and they wanted it to be in the shot because it's so specifically in there and it's so just very, very specific. And again, great job by Hader, because he answers the phone and then Sharon identifies herself as Chris's wife, and he just we kind of do something, you're half awake. He answered half awake as soon as she said that, fully awake.
Great scene here.
Yeah, last thing here, because we didn't bring it up in the last scene with Sharon. Do you think that Fuchs has been to see her yet?
No.
When do you see, again, it comes into the time frame thing. He's already shot then. If he hasn't been to see her now, does he go there after he's shot? That almost has to be with the way they play it. Because again, in that first scene with Albert, I don't think Sharon, she seems genuinely, either she's just a great actress, she's already plotting against Barry or something. It just seems to me that at this point that she's just genuinely trying to do this as get the gang back together kind of thing.
Well, I think I kind of saw it a different way. I kind of saw, after we know what happens towards the end of this, I saw that meeting with Albert as her kind of knowing Albert's a police officer, not wanting to tip her hand, and she wants to get vengeance herself as a vengeance panther. And I think the clues were there. You just didn't know it at the time. And then she even mentions, I'm going to have a dinner for everyone. Let's get everyone together.
I would prefer that. I like what you're putting down. And hopefully next episode, we will see that. I think pretty obvious, right? If Albert doesn't show up for the dinner, that means she didn't call him, which means she knew already. If Albert does show up, then it probably means that sometime after they talked and she said about this dinner, then Fuchs contacted her. So I think we'll find out one way or the other.
Bro, I think the table was set for 6. So I mean, there's should be more than just Albert there. My thought was they planted that she was already going to have her vengeance. I think Fuchs got to her, before this episode, and we just didn't see it. It was that
in his initial run
thing.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I'm going with. And we're back on the outskirts of the city, and we see Fuchs just laying there, his motionless body, and then we hear footsteps. We see a shadow as the screen cuts to black. When we return, Fuchs is lying in the bed of a pickup truck. He groans, he opens his eyes, confirming for us that he is in fact miraculously still alive. He's taken to a rustic home where a woman tends to his gunshot wound. Sometime later, Fuchs wakes up. The woman who was tending to him previously, Anita, asks if he's okay. Fuchs says,
Holy smokes.
For a minute, I thought that Anita was the same actress who played Anna, because it's the exact same reaction with the holy smokes and the goats and fuck you, Fuchs. Can't I get one? Give me one Anna, one Anita. You're going to get 2 of them and just be like, right. Nah, I want this stupid vengeance thing. Crazy, dude. I mean, maybe the only thing I might buy here, we talked about getting shot. I want a reason we don't get some kind of mystical native herb or anything, but maybe goats. Is it one of that's like the sun to Superman? When Fuchs gets close to goats, it heals him?
I mean, he is the goat of goats, dude. He really is.
So it would make sense, right? That he is also goat powered.
This is tough because it's look, it's a comedy show. I'm willing to kind of look the other way on a lot of things, but this is one where it's just kind of like, man, I'm glad we're not losing Fuchs. His character's great, and I still want to see kind of like that Fuchs Barry face off eventually whenever it's coming. But this to me was just kind of like, man, I wish more thought would have been planned into that, just to make it not so absolutely absurd to believe. It's hard. It's a jagged little pill, as we like to talk about our good friend Alanis Morissette.
Hey, speaking of nice people that everybody loves, we see NoHo Hank finally. He's in a parked car and he's watching the police search Platts. That's not good. Hank is very upset. So What do you do when you're upset? You go to see Mitch for some beignets. Like Sally before him, Hank breaks down his current predicament to Mitch, who notes that Cristobal has some massive red flags. Hank wonders what to do next, and Mitch offers him a franchising opportunity. Hank tells him that,
yeah, I might need a few days to, mull that over.
So, Wednesday?
Yeah.
And dude, more Mitch, and that is a good thing. How great is this dude? He's just fantastic.
yeah, this is something that this show, think about all the random stuff they've done. Like you have the Detonate app, the Limonada Girls, Las Aquilas. They just create these running gags. And I think it's part Saturday Night Live and also part South Park, where Hader was a writer for quite a few years. Like the Detonate act or Mitch, you could totally see like Cartman or whatever getting into some scheme, coming in there bitching about the beignets, and Mitch just being like, chill out, little man. And he gives them like the advice, and Kyle or Stan goes back there. It feels South Park in the best kind of way.
Yeah. And so many good quotes here. Again, we'll probably just play this out, but
So now, my business is like completely burned down, and cops are on my tail, and they took my Cristobal.
This dude lied to you? Didn't tell you he was married? Didn't tell you he was straight? And don't get me wrong, he sounds like a real catch. Those are massive red flags, bro.
So I go down to Bolivia and say like no more red flags, right?
Hey dude, look, I know we just met, but you seem like kind of rad. My shit's about to franchise. We could run this business together.
I would like to see NoHo Hank and Mitch run this thing, and when Mitch
That's
looks
a
at him, he
real
says,
spinoff. Like we talked about
dude,
the Detonate app, because it's also right. This is the scene at the end. You see the lady coming in to talk about her daughter, and Mitch knows, exactly who she is, what she's talking about.
He's like,
it really
"And what
does
happened?"
seem that he is dispensing just that. Maybe his advice is just as good as his beignets. And Hader noted that too on the podcast, where he said, like, if you look in line, basically everyone there is by themselves. So it is intended to be a thing where it is like, yeah, the beignets are pretty good, but also there for the advice. And again, back to the Soup Nazi. If you were cool with the Soup Nazi, he'd give you advice. Remember, he gave Kramer the whole bureau with all the recipes in it and everything. He was a nice guy if you're on the good side. Mitch just seems to be nice to everybody, except maybe, we'll see when he goes to his ex-drug dealer reunion.
Does NoHo Hank not give you those vibes, though? I mean, where Mitch is like, hey, dude, look, I know we just met, but you seem like...
He also just talks about how his whole business is exploded. The cops are looking for him, and Mitch is like, going to business, man.
Yeah, my shit's about to franchise. We could run this business together. Mitch would understand, though, man. He used to deal, So I mean, that's Hank does seem kind of rad, dude. I mean, he's not. This Mitch character is just the best West Coast vibe, chill dude. Love it so much. Can't say enough about it.
Not quite Detonate, but probably a number 2 on my favorite random things that Barrios introduces here. One thing that the scene brought up that I hadn't really considered is the idea that maybe Elena took Cristobal back to Bolivia.
Yeah.
It never really occurred to me. We'll maybe save most of that for predictions, but that seems to be what Hank's thinking, right? Like he's got to go rescue Cristobal. I never imagined we'd have to get international NoHo Hank on a rescue mission, but all of a sudden, I'm not sure there's anything else I want more, especially if he gets some products from Detonate to bring with him.
Dude, Hank goes
beignets.
to
You got to bring some
Bolivia.
beignets too. Yeah, bring some beignets with him too.
And possibly Barry too, but who knows? Barry could be dead. We don't know. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Great scene. We then see Gene is asleep in bed when he is awoken by his agent, Tom. Yes, more Tom, who asks if he can handle more amazing news. The big-time producer named Bob Jacobson is moving into streaming, and he wants Gene to host his own show, the Gene Cousineau Masterclass. The opening offer is for $400K, but Tom thinks he can talk him way up. Gene agrees to do it, but under one condition. Dude, like Mitch, I wouldn't be mad if we saw Tom every episode. Like, he's just great, dude. And his chemistry with Winkler, Gene Cousineau, it's just fantastic.
And again, we get a pretty slick callback here. Remember last episode when we get the thing with Barry, when you think he's maybe at the therapist, and it turns out he was at Hank and Cristobal's place waiting for them? Here, Gene wakes up. There's Tom sitting there, and Gene's like,
how did you get into my house?
Bob Jacobson. You know who that is? Producer. He did the Wonder Man film.
You can't just break into my house.
He's moving into the streaming space, which is now creeping into the theater space.
yeah, and Tom again, just he's the one-liner machine. And this is definitely another shot at Netflix and whatnot when Tom says he's moving into the streaming space, which is now creeping into the theater space. You know, as all these places are trying to now find other sources of revenue, they're like, hey, what if we put our movie in movie theaters?
It's a
Top
real
notch,
thought.
baby.
Yeah, it's a real thought, bro. And yeah, just great ones here.
You were the students, you know, working with them like you did with that vet, that Sean.
Barry.
Teaching them everything about acting, unlocking all the weird shit that motivates them, saving their lives.
Just so good.
It feels like he's basically quoting the Variety article probably, but I'm there for it. And not
Great
a ton
scene.
here. I guess two kind of things is A, you know, we heard him bring it up to Joe Montana. Did you think there was any chance that this is producer like that he fucked over during the day just trying to fuck with him? And B, when he said he had one condition, like I immediately assumed it had to do something with Andy from the previous episode. Did you assume the same?
I did. I couldn't, I couldn't imagine it was anything else here. I just, he is on this right the unwrongable wrong kind of thing. And I think he's going to continue that trend throughout. So that was my guess. But, this is one of those shows, though, where I'm starting to get to a point where not much surprises me. Like it wouldn't shock me if it was something totally different. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like they're earning my trust all the way around here.
Yeah, who knows? Might even buy some beignets or some shit. We'll figure it out. After that, Gene tries to make good, so he goes to see Annie Eisner at her school classroom. He tries to convince her to direct his new show, saying that he'll split the profits with her. She declines, and Gene ups his offer to an 80-20 split in her favor, but still no dice. Finally, he offers her everything, 100% of the money, if she'll do it.
Take it all.
Oh, shit. Try me.
I do like that Annie's a little bit of a whippersnapper, dude. She's a little bit of a staunch negotiator. 80-20. I don't need your charity. I mean, I enjoyed this scene. I think it's going to be really good to get Annie and Gene scenes working together. I really enjoyed Gene when he had Janice Moss, and if he could find another kind of love interest and like it just, I think there's potential here for kind of a rekindling, and working with Annie, I think could be really great for the show.
Yeah, let's save a little bit of that for predictions. I think that'd be a good one to talk about there. And let's be honest here, we know that Gene got some money from Barry, and he probably got a little bit from Laws of Humanity. But dude, he's going to give 100% of the dough to her. He's still going to have to pay the tax on something probably. Like he's got to draw something. Like this is not a smooth business move from Gene's standpoint. That's all I'm saying.
And can we just comment one more time on the Cousineau look? I mean, this dude has the weirdest, craziest
like a corduroy
outfit.
Jacket with a patterned shirt, a
very bright,
tie.
loud, very, very loud tie. That
colors
doesn't
all
match.
clash at all times. They have to clash.
Yeah, the Cousineau look is it's no Fonz, it's no but it's pretty cool, dude. He's a trendsetter.
Yeah, all right. So if we're dressing up for the finale or something, you can do you'll do Cousineau and I'll do NoHo Hank.
Yeah. Love it. We probably got to talk Fuchs. Fuchs continues to convalesce with Anita and her family. She reminds Fuchs that he's only 20 miles outside of LA. Fuchs somehow seems to be back at damn near full strength, even though it's been, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe a day. He gets a call from Jim Moss, the father of Janice Moss. It appears that Fuchs has attempted to add him as yet another vengeance partner. Moss says that he's interested in learning about the information that Kenneth Goulet had offered and wants to meet. Fuchs begins to answer, but pauses, stares at Anita and her family, and then tells Jim that he's sorry to have wasted his time. He hangs up and heads back to the house. I just can't get over the fact that Fuchs is lucking out twice here.
Second time he's done this too, the same thing.
Heaven.
Gotten a phone call just like this, looked at his girl, looked at the situation and said like, no, I'm good. Literally the second time this is playing out exactly this way. My only real question is, with only 2 episodes left, how are they going to fit this into the rule of 3 and make it happen a third time in these last 2 episodes?
Yeah. I mean, and will it stick? I mean, I
can see all these women falling in love with Stephen Root, but not with Fuchs.
Fuchs
like, what is the attraction?
He's a horrible human being, dude. But I will say, I'm gonna start being Kenneth Goulet out in the world, dude. What a great alias, man. It's such
It's
a
a
great
solid
name.
alias. It is a solid alias.
Solid alias, bro. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you forget that, like, you know, California is this beautiful, like, mountainous, you know, area and desert and stuff. And, you know, it's so funny because it makes it seem like they're in like Mexico or something, you know. She's like,
You know, you're only 20 miles outside of LA. There's a Starbucks right over that hill.
just great writing here. Really enjoyed
And he
that.
doesn't even have an accent or anything. She's dressed in
No,
very
it's-
contemporary clothing. They do live in an older look, like I said, a rustic house, but it's not,
Yeah.
they have electricity and everything. It's not, he could probably, Fuchs can get his Ohio State games there probably at least. So
He probably could.
he had that going for him there too. Really, what's he doing, man? What is he doing?
Vengeance is a sad thing, my friend.
Dude.
We then see Barry. He's at a clothing store looking for some new threads for his dinner with Sharon and the other vets. While shopping, he's dictating a text message to Sally via speakerphone. The other customers all turn to stare at him, and it's just awkward and absolutely hysterical, as you can imagine. This was really good, dude. This was just so funny.
Especially for someone I've done voice texting in the car and then integrated and whatnot. I didn't know I guess you can voice text emojis. That's a thing. And yeah,
Wincy face, dude.
I don't know what the emojis are called. I apologize. It's like looking at those Raven logos from last week. I don't know. You'd have to. I'm sure I could regular smile face. That's smiley face, right? So I got one.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever gotten a text from you with an emoji, actually, which is interesting.
No, I literally, if I want even, like, I'll use the thumbs up one occasionally, and I don't even I just write thumbs up, and then the emoji pops up, and I click on it. I don't even use the menu.
He doesn't even go to the menu, folks. Guys, if we're probably just gonna have to play this scene because it was just so good. But
hey, Sally! ! I just wanted to say I appreciate you for calling me out for being a quote violent asshole, end quote. I am sorry for all the shit I put you through over the past couple of weeks. Parentheses, yelling at you at work, comma, offering to break into your boss's house, comma, take sleeping pictures of her, etc., etc. End parentheses, wincing emoji. There is no excuses for that B period S exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Oh man.
This looks nice and it's 40% off. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to do acting anymore. I found a new community with my Marine friends. I'm trying to move forward by going into the past like Marty McFly, LOL. Sir, you're talking too loud. Shit, I'm sorry. Just please be quacky, shame Jonas Brothers, haha, fresh. Sally, I understand if you do not want to talk to me again. I will 5 you spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine. Barry.
I have people in my world that I see just walking around text to talk to text. This is so funny because it's just it's picking up people in the background. I mean, just great scene, hilarious, well written. And Barry is, if he's one thing, he's pretty socially awkward, right?
Yeah, just amazing. Last thing here, this is basically the 2022 version of like the asshole Bluetooth headset guy from 2012, right? Remember everyone used to have the little, like, you'd see business guy, he's in line at the store and he's just chatting away, and you go be like, sir, like, who's he talking to? You just do the little point in his ear.
Yeah,
that's just basically
that guy. But this was so funny because he's literally doing a apology for the breakup text. It's just so great, dude, and calling out his own shit out in the open. It's just, you got to hand it to him, man. This was a wonderful scene.
I mean, really, it keeps going because the way it's edited, his dictating of the text flows right into Sally, who's sitting with Lindsay at the Banshee offices, and she starts reading the text out loud. So that's a beautiful scene transition and edit job right there. Yeah. Love it. And the text, like you said, with people talking in the background and everything, it is as incoherent and as hysterical as you possibly could have imagined. Sally reads the entire thing out loud, and Lindsay comments that she's really dodged a bullet. Morgan Dawn Cherry from Banshee comes over to meet them, and they head into her office.
When she's reading his text out loud, I I died.
I'm going to
This
use
was
some
so
of this as
funny.
copy pasta to people. Like I am definitely going to, you will see that I'm going to end emails with, I will 5 spaceship brittle teeth in the sunshine. Like you're going to have emails for me that end in that. Just deal with it. That just means it's, we'll figure out what it means.
Do you think that, shit, dude, even Marty McFly got in there. Do you think that Sally at all is having any type of second regrets or doubts here about this with Barry, or do you think she's full force moved ahead, listening to Lindsay, who says, and I quote,
Jesus Christ, you dodged a bullet.
I think that maybe comes up, say, in the resolution of the season here in the final episode, where Barry tries to make maybe one more effort to get her back or something and has to finally accept that, yeah, this is over. I cannot see them getting back together in any way, shape, or form. Hell, Barry could go get Joplin back on, get on a major network, even off Banshee, onto NBC or something, on HBO. Doesn't matter. Dunzo.
And speaking of Dunzo, I found it weird that he's thinking about quitting acting. Like he just had a gig. He's quitting acting. He's going to join the Community. It's one dinner invite, dude. Like, I don't know whether to laugh at this or like feel bad with how sad this is. Like, this is weird. It's a weird, dark humor thing, which the show does so well.
It's one of those things, right? Barry is left without anything to grasp onto in his life. I made the joke earlier, but literally when Sharon called him, she could have said, Barry, you want to go on a trip to China? And Barry would have just said, absolutely. Because he's got nothing left, right? He severed his ties with Mr. Cousineau. Sally's gone. There's no acting class. Even then he's back with the guys from the class. He's been reduced to, a little 5x5 square on the floor where he can put his belongings in sleeping bag. That's basically like living in the military again, kind of. You got to think that Barry, just anything is better than where he's at right now, right? And that's more or less his mindset, I think.
Rock bottom for sure. We're then in the meeting and we see Morgan Dawn Sherry tries to sell Sally on coming on to the new Medusas in order to give it the Sally Reed touch. Right now, she's a little, and Sally can make it a little more of, Lindsay and Morgan proceed to have a conversation about what they are looking for and what Sally can bring to the show via a series of grunts, noises, looks, and smiles. I have a feeling this was somewhat of a shot at some shit that happens in Hollywood and West Coast in general. But to me, this was really funny, dude. I enjoyed this scene a lot. I thought it was great.
This was hysterical. Yeah, like you said, Hader talked about this a little bit. It is something that happens where people have a certain feel. It is not even really a real word. It's a certain expression or smile or noise or something that is them trying to express what they're looking for or what they can bring. But yeah, for the most part, once it got underway, they just basically had like make noises, do whatnot in the script, and the actresses went at it. Thought it was a great job. Absolutely hysterical. Definitely in contention for my favorite scene, my favorite dialogue of the episode. And I just want to say one thing. Basically, Morgan Dawn Cherry, I'm just going to call her MDC for short, so I don't have to keep saying Morgan Dawn Cherry. I almost remember it now, though. Everything, when you're looking at the closed captioning that she wants, is followed by an exclamation point. And I'm just saying, you know what else on Banshee has an exclamation point after it?
Pam! Yeah,
Tell me that she's going to wind up on Pam, right? That would be ironic, wouldn't it?
It would be, but bro, I'd love to see him do a show called Plants and just have it be about NoHo Hank. That would be, I digress.
I just want to see the scene where Hank has to explain the TV show to the elders. No, we use it as cover for heroin business. They don't even show heroin that much on television.
I mean, he would take it from a little bit of to a little bit of am I right?
I mean, they already have the exclamation point on Plants. I think there might be a branding fit here. After the meeting, Lindsay tells Sally that she thinks she should take the job. It's good money, and it will give her time to audition and prepare for her next show. Sally just can't help but feel that her going to work in the writer's room of another show is a demotion. Lindsay reminds her that taking this job will keep her in good standing with Banshee, which is important. Sally reluctantly agrees, and they begin to discuss the money she'll be making.
I love how Sally's just like, what's the money? She's kind of on the fence, and woo, it's good.
Well, that's the end of the day, right?
Sometimes
you got to take a job for the money. In fact, that's what 95% of the population does when they take a job.
Yes. I mean, and to her agent's being a good agent here. I mean, she's, giving her the the
Or
points here.
is
I mean,
she, or is Lindsay trying to remain solid at Banshee? This is another thing that Hader touched on briefly, and this scene is supposed to play a little bit ambiguous as to whether you think Lindsay is purely on Sally's side or if she's also trying to, play both sides a little bit.
that really, really good point there. She could be, but she's not wrong though, in that Sally, it wouldn't hurt Sally to stay on somewhat good terms if she's still on good terms. I don't know if she is after kind of that whole scene in the conference room there. That was my one question. I was like, could she still be on good terms after telling him to, fuck the algorithm? I don't know.
Well, what I think happened is because we don't see Diane, the algorithm must have said, oh, we like the Sally, but maybe the executive was the problem. So the algorithm made change.
Yeah. So
And
the algorithm,
Diane, even if the algorithm fired her, Diane would accept it because after 30 years, she's learned one thing. You got to trust the algorithm.
no one knows anything except the algorithm.
After that, we catch back up with Fuchs, and he's returning from a ride with Anita's father. So he's healed enough that he's out there in the truck. Conceivably, he went on the ride to help pick up stuff. So he's lifting things, moving around pretty well, apparently. And Anita's father tells him that his daughter Anita likes him very much. And he told her that he was a good man. Fuchs replies that he's working on it. Anita's father also tells him that sometimes you have to abide by the signs that God gives you. Anita's father exits the truck, and Fuchs notices a newspaper article about Barry and Jean. Fuchs takes this as his sign from God, so he steals the truck and calls Jim Moss as he hauls ass back to Los Angeles.
Unless he got shot with a rock salt gun or a potato gun.
I
and
thought
even
it was going to
then-
be a paintball gun at the beginning, to be honest with you. I thought that's how they were going to justify all this. Where at some point, Fuchs was going to be amazed at his recovery and they'd be like, oh, sir, you just got shot with a paintball.
That would have been funny and cool. Short of that, there's no way humanly possible you're just like up and doing stuff after taking a shot directly, not just to the chest, to the side that your heart is on, to the heart, quite literally. So tough one there to understand. And I will say this, dude, I don't know if it was just supposed to be funny, I'm sure, but like, I don't know of any father of any woman, let alone a beautiful young woman like Anita, that would be like, giving Fuchs the proverbial
The guy they found
okay.
shot out in the whatnot. Be like, oh yes, you're who I want my daughter to be with.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
he gets a
perfect for
stamp
my
of
beautiful,
approval.
innocent, perfect daughter. Like, yeah,
It
go
appears
for
that
it.
this is the first conversation they've ever had, but he's already given the stamp of approval. And he talks
Shocking.
so weird too. Like when he says, my daughter Anita, she likes you. I think she wants to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Like what type of, this man appears to be probably in his 50s. Spanish is his primary language.
It's strange.
A third grader would say that.
Yeah. Or maybe circle one, yes, no, or maybe.
Yes, no, or maybe. I don't know. You've already, accused this guy of being shot to, Fuchs is shot to the heart, and he's to blame, and he has given Love a bad name.
Yes, he has. I did like the one good thing about this scene, though, is that they did a good job of making you think maybe the sign was, dude, what am I doing? I had everything. I left it for vengeance. I got everything back. I'm going to take it. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to work my goats. I'm going to have this beautiful girl that's 20 years younger than me that loves me. And I'm just going to live out here peacefully, but then he sees the article. He sees Barry as the Marine and he just snaps. This dude, you know what Fuchsy needs? Fuchs needs therapy. You know what he needs? He needs Mitch. He needs Mitch.
I think you need either Anna or Anita. I think either of those would have worked.
Those are better options.
Because he could be with one of them and go together with her to Mitch. I think that
Couples
would be the
beignets,
best.
yeah.
They can be the first couple to show up, get some couples therapy from Mitch. And you gotta love the headline on the joint that he saw. Former toxic man-child helps save vet's life through acting. It doesn't look like this is from Variety, so other outlets have picked this story up. So it's apparently kind of a big deal. So shout out Fuchs. And one nice thing that I liked here is after Anita's dad, who's just credited as Anita's dad. I wish we had a name for him. Didn't have to keep saying Anita's dad, but that's what he's credited as. When he talks about the line about God giving a sign, Fuchs says,
You said something there.
I am going to use that in real life. When people say some like heavy shit, I just like can't respond to right then. It's gonna be like, yeah, you said something there.
Great response, dude. I may use it this very Barry podcast right here. We see Tracy and her biker buddies arrive at Barry's new crib and they're searching for information. They find a receipt from Beignets by Mitch. This was weird. I had to actually rewatch this and think about how exactly they found that Barry now lives with the roommates. And the only thing I could think of is that maybe Fuchs wasn't aware that Barry was actually living with Sally. Maybe he gave everyone the address to his old, but I don't know
but that doesn't work because we
tracks
saw
with the
Julie and
couple.
Kyle go to the other
Yeah.
place when they were
So
casing it. So
I don't
this
know
doesn't
how
track. They've talked about that they reshot some stuff for the season. This obviously has to be one of those because again, they're in theory, they're getting here. They were 20 miles outside of LA. They get here. Even if that took them 2 hours, like Fuchs is literally Wolverine.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So some
work.
of the night day doesn't match up, that kind of thing. We'll just have to accept it for what it is. I did like when you see the guys they're doing the little comedy thing or whatever, and dude just kind of walks in looking around and they can't hear him because they're in the booth. So like that.
And he just finds the receipts and yeah, this was good. And
and how would they even know that's Barry's? And I guess maybe it said his name on it.
Well, and they didn't know it was. They're like, what's Beg Nets by Mitch? It's just very funny. That was the good part about this. It overshadowed for me the fact that, like, how did they know where to look, dude? Like, how are they going there? I mean, they shot Fuchs, so it's not even like they could be like, call them and been like, hey, he's not at the address you gave us. A little bit of a hole there in the plot, but hey, it's Barry. It's all good. And hit it, DJ, because one more time, we're going to go back to Beignets by Mitch. It's Harry's turn to receive beignets and advice. He lays out the situation for Mitch, and Mitch warns him to be cautious about meeting up with old friends. Trust me, bro. Just dip your toe. Dip the toe before going all in on a full-on in-person hang. I think he even requested a Zoom sesh. Request a Zoom sesh, dip a toe before you go all in. Mitch has the best advice, dude. The best.
Yeah, pretty much. Again, just one of those things. Roll the clip. You just can't do it justice with the way we would do it.
You haven't seen these dudes in 5 years?
It's more like 12.
Huh. Yeah, I'd tread lightly if I were you.
Why?
People change, man. Like, this one time I went to this 10-year reunion with these guys I used to deal drugs with, and they just, like, weren't the same dudes. Like, this one guy was, like, super MAGA, trying to get me on anti-CRT shit, and the other dude made me watch videos of dads rapping and is corny as fuck.
Yeah, I don't see these guys being like that.
You don't know. Trust me, like, I would do, like, a Zoom session before you go for the full-on in-person hang. Just dip your toe.
All right.
No, telling you, dude, dip that toe.
Just perfect. And Barry, this is again to see where Barry is basically just reacting to Mitch, and it's just perfect again. And Mitch, of course, never changes his tone or even really looks. He's always just kind of like doesn't move his eyes, doesn't change his tone, and just takes it all in, spits it back out like a goddamn human computer. He's a beignet making machine, apparently. Because he had to get out of that Cholo game.
I didn't know that drug dealers had 10-year reunions. I mean, that's kind of a wild concept, and I guess people change, dude.
Again, just the hysterical, the fact that yes, even drug dealers would be still in contact with each other after 10 years is amazing. But much less, let's all hang out based on our previous shared occupation. I mean, I guess it doesn't make that much less sense than high school reunions, but sure. I mean, I guess if they were selling tickets, I'd attend a drug dealers reunion, depending on where it was being hosted.
Yeah, well, and
that shit might be legal now. I mean,
well, dude, and what's funny is just like a 10-year reunion for like high school or college, you're gonna get somebody who's super MAGA, who's trying to get you on some anti-CRT shit, and another dude who's watching videos of dads rapping. I mean, it's gonna be corny, bro. I mean, that tracks pretty accurately for any 10-year reunion that you're gonna go to in anything ever. So loved it, Mitch. I hope we get more Mitches. I hope he's not a one night stand with Mitch here. I don't want to dip the toe with Mitch, dude. I want to go all in, man. I want to go all in.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I want a finale that somehow brings back like the Limonada Girls, brings back Mitch, brings back Detonate, brings back the Hitman website, ties it all together. They probably won't, but I would be there for that. After that, we see that Barry didn't really seem to have taken Mitch's advice because he's headed to Sharon's for dinner, bag of beignets in hand. Tracy and the other bikers pull up to Barry and identify him based on Fuchs's photo. Just like that, The chase is on. Barry starts cutting through a neighborhood when one of the bikers gets some shots off at him, causing Barry to crash his bike into the biker, who goes headfirst through the windshield into the passenger seat. Barry takes the biker's helmet and goggles, grabs his bag of beignets, and takes off on the bike. The remaining 2 bikers spot Barry and begin shooting at him. Barry runs a red light and takes the chase to the freeway. The bikers chase Barry into stalled traffic, where their buddy in the blue van is waiting. He unloads an automatic weapon at Barry as he drives by, but fails to hit him. After missing, the shooter makes an ill-fated attempt to hand the weapon off to one of the bikers, resulting in the bike crashing, which leaves only Tracy chasing Barry.
I gotta say here, man, there was a lot of also kind of like far-fetched things in this scene, but I loved it. I mean, the male guy, at first I was like, he just witnessed this whole accident and like made deep eye contact with Barry. I'm like, okay, is he gonna have to kill the UPS guy here, like the post office guy? But he just kept on trucking. The scene was great. I love the fact that they took it to the freeway. That was really cool. And the thing that, stuck out to me here with this was how well it was shot. I love the camera angle as you see these just walls of traffic. I mean, just straight lines stretching for like a mile plus of just non-moving cars, just stuck bumper to bumper traffic. And you got the camera angle just in the middle, not even the lane, just the little tiny space between, and they're just flying up through there. I really like this a lot. There was some humor in it. Obviously the guy that tries to, hop out and snipe everybody with the thing, and then it doesn't work on the handoff. I mean, that was funny, the AK-47 handoff, but obviously it would be a big deal to have anything like this happen in real life. It's a TV show. We know that, but I thought the way this shot was friggin' awesome. I liked it a lot.
Especially for a show that builds itself as a dark comedy, more or less. This is a fairly extensive action sequence. Hader talked about this. They apparently got to shoot on the 710 a little bit. They had it, I think, 3 Sundays, he said, where it was shut down from like 7 a.m. to noon or something like that. The little stretch that they used. Then they shot like the merge one day, the going through the cars one day, and then the handoff and the bike crash on the other day that they had it. Again, great stuff. Hader said that they basically got a lot of the crew and everything, like just to go park their personal cars there, but that's all basically real. The opposing traffic's the only thing that wasn't there. Otherwise, that's all shot practically. I like that you said the way it was framed, kind of how they zoom in on the bike and the straight shots from behind. Nothing too fancy or whatever. Thought it just looked really cool. And I did like the way that they showed that Barry, while he was a competent bike rider, he wasn't as good as the other 2. You would assume their bikes were equally powered, but you kind of hear Barry putting along, and the other bikes would always catch it from behind, because simply these are, literally professional bike riders. This is what they do. So of course Barry shouldn't be able to match their skills. So I like that they kept that level of realism to it.
Definitely. Well, and let's not forget that like Barry was driving a bike that just got into a car accident with him. So it's like,
right, yeah. In the next scene here, when we'll get to that probably makes sense why he runs out of gas, right? Because we see Barry, he almost gets away, but he runs out of gas. Maybe he wasn't out of gas, maybe it was leaking, and he kind of coasts into some trash cans across from a car dealership, and Tracy follows him, and she does a really cool stunt where she rides up onto the roof of the dealership and then just starts opening fire on the crowd for some reason. Unfortunately for her, this doesn't seem like the first rodeo for the owner of the dealership. He runs inside, grabs a shotgun, and takes Tracy out with 2 shots. We hear police sirens approaching as Barry walks away as quickly as possible without drawing attention.
So much here with this scene. This is, this will probably make its way into some hardware territory for us on the show. The car salesman is just fantastic. I mean, that is the best way to tell somebody that you're having problems in your marriage, by just coming out and saying, the wife and I, I've been having an affair. I mean, classic.
Yeah, there's no way we get. We'll probably just roll the clip to a certain extent because it's hard to do it justice. Shout out Bob Turton. He plays Mr. Kleintop here, who's the owner of the car dealership.
It's got a 10-power adjustable driver's seat. Not an 8, not a 9. I'm talking a solid 10. We're talking maximum comfort, lumbar support. Look, you need to treat your back right, and it all starts right there. Really, it's about quality of life. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but recently I've been, wife and I've been having an affair.
I just want to know, what has happened at this car dealership before, where he's like, no fucking way, not today, not again. Like, he runs in there, he gets the thing, and he shoots her twice. She's on the roof. He's down there. He gets her twice with a shotgun, and afterwards all the customers are like, all right, cool. Oh, that was awesome. Let's go. And they just go right back in and start shopping again. What is happening in this neighborhood?
Yeah, apparently that is not the first time there's been an issue there. And I love the
that's not Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. That's Mr. Robinson's neighborhood.
That's right. And the lights, they're missing, the C and car sales is not working. Some of the lights are just classic, looks like a shitty little rundown. Probably, not the best.
It's a used car dealer. Like, yeah, Kleintop, he definitely, again, the speech he gives out at the beginning, you can tell he's a solid 10 when it comes to used car dealers.
Yes, he is. He's talking not an 8, not a 9, a solid 10. Another great shot. Shout out Bill Hader on directing this, dude. Another great angle that they shot this from. They could have did this a lot of ways. I like that they went out front, gave us a big view. You get to see kind of the Tracy going up on the roof, everyone scattering, chaos when she's opening fire. You see Kleintop go in, go out, shoot her. She gets up, shoot her twice. I loved what they did here, from a viewer standpoint, watching the scene unfold. Really well done, easy to watch. And I think he got the most out of it rather than trying to get cute and switch and show a camera angle up on the roof and back down. And they kept it simple here and it worked really well.
Yeah, another thing that Hader actually did touch on, and that's basically just a pan shot. They try not to cut very much from it. They had to set up like a little ramp. They hide it a bit. That's how the Tracy gets up there on the roof so easily. Cool stunt. You really get the feeling. I think he said they did have to go to HBOS for some extra dough for this one. I think it shows, and yeah, I'm there for it. A little bit of a change of pace here for Barry. So far so good. And that brings us to the final scene of the episode, where Barry arrives at Sharon's for dinner, bag of beignets in hand. And Sharon is very excited to see those goddamn beignets. Barry sits at the table alone while Sharon is in the kitchen. He does a Google image search for Taylor motorcycle and eventually seems to make the connection with what just happened. Sharon brings over the beignets and says that Barry can have as many as he likes. Barry helps himself and continues to look at his phone. He then notices the red business card of Kenneth Goulet sitting on the table. He locks eyes with Sharon and asks her what she put in the sauce. She replies, "Die, you motherfucker." Barry begins to choke and foam at the mouth as we cut to the end credits. And the outro song here is The Other Song by Spirit.
Yeah, really cool outro song. Enjoyed that a lot. I thought that fit. It worked really well. I think I counted 5 or 6 plates set at that table. It's only Barry. I started kind of questioning things as he's sitting there and he's feverishly kind of figuring things out from, because one thing we failed to mention about the chase scene is before they started chasing him, as he's sitting in his red, what we believe to be a late 80s, early 90s Toyota Corolla.
That was a newer Corolla. I think it was a rental. I think that was a newer rental Corolla, I'm assuming, because his other one got wrecked up, right, in episode 2 or whatever.
Yes.
So.
What's funny about this is they just come up alongside it. He's sitting there, at a stoplight. And they're just like taking pictures of him, comparing, talking to each other.
Yeah, the dude's like literally leaning into the door, like, is this him? It looks like him.
Yeah.
These guys were not subtle. And that's one thing that doesn't make a ton of sense is they just open fire. The fact that they shoot Fuchs and that Taylor just opens fire at the dealership, even on the road. That dude with the machine, nothing, we don't know what happens to the guy in the blue van. He's stuck in traffic. What if he gets arrested and gives everybody up? I mean, he shoots into other cars. There were probably other casualties of that. I wonder if that'll come back around or not.
Yeah, I doubt it will, but 100% there is.
Only Albert or no, and Big Cat will be like, nah, it was unrelated.
The Raven strikes again, bro. I do think that I started I liked how they got the bikers kind of planted the seed that, Fuchs was behind this with the Kenneth Goulet thing, and, kind of saying that out loud when Barry kind of picked up on it throughout the whole thing. And he's there and he's like scrolling through and he's figuring out that maybe Fuchs is behind this. But while that was happening, I was kind of like, man, it made it seem like Barry showed up late and like he just barely gets there and he's like, hey, I finally made it. And then no one else is there. This is when I started to worry, like, what's going on here?
A good call. And again, one final thing that Hader brought up is you don't really know if when Barry sits down, that red card is already sitting there and he just doesn't notice it, or if maybe when she brings the beignets over there, she subtly puts it down so that he will notice it. He was just like, no, we want him to see it and just have the realization of what's going on and get the look up with her and everything. So it works out really cool, but there's no real super sly reason that red card is there or something. It's just they wanted to get that reaction, and I think it worked really well.
Yeah, well, and it tied in perfectly to the fact that he was already kind of starting to come to the conclusion that Fuchs may be sending people after him or sent those bikers after him. So, who's already starting
Double
to kinda,
confirmation. Right. He just got it on his phone. Now he sees the card. So
it was a double damn. I didn't see this coming necessarily with like he would straight up be foaming at the mouth with poison. How do you overcome poison? I mean, obviously he doesn't die here, but it's like, how do you overcome poison? I mean,
I guess we'll have to
foaming at
save
the
that for
mouth.
predictions, and that's what they call a tease, because yeah, I'm very curious about that as well.
That just about does it for the 710N. That's right. Now it's time to highlight our favorite parts of this episode. Let's start by each giving our favorite line or dialogue exchange. I'm not going too far into the well here, bro. I'm keeping it real with my boy, Mitch. And I'm going back to that first exchange with Sally. When he looked at her and this is real advice he's given her here if you read between the lines, and he says,
Yeah, I used to be a baker at this kick-ass churro shop in Eagle Rock. It was cushy as fuck. Like, I could have rode that shit forever. But I knew I had to level up to beignets. A lot of the churro dudes were like, rein in your ambitions, Mitch, but I was like, nah.
This was the first time I fell in love with Mitch. He didn't disappoint me the entire episode. Every single scene he was in, he murders. More Mitch. More Mitch.
I am there for that. No complaints at all. Love that entire scene. For me, I am going to go with basically the quote that is shared by Barry and Sally. It's said out loud, so it counts as a quote where Barry starts saying it and then Sally finishes.
Hey, Sally, exclamation point. I just wanted to say I appreciate you for calling me out for being a, quote, violent asshole, end quote. I am sorry for all the shit I put you through over the past couple of weeks. Parentheses, yelling at you at work, comma, offering to break into your boss's house, comma, take sleeping pictures of her, etc., etc. In parentheses, wincing emoji. There is no excuses for that B period S exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Oh man.
This looks nice and it's 40% off. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to do acting anymore. I found a new community with my Marine friends. I'm trying to move forward by going into the past like Marty McFly, LOL. Sir, you're talking too loud. Shit, I'm sorry. Just please be quacky, shame Jonas Brothers, ha ha fresh. Sally, I understand if you do not want to talk to me again. I will 5 you spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine. Barry.
Love that. Every part of it. That brings us to our favorite moment or scene of 710N. My turn to go first here. I really want to cheat and just say all the Mitch scenes. Can't really do that. Could cheat and say, like all the dirt bike scenes, but you did the Mitch and Sally scene. Give me the NoHo Hank and Mitch scene. You did it as a quote. I'm doing it as a scene. Again, same thing. I could have done it as either. Just NoHo Hank and Mitch is, yep, I'm ready for the spinoff. Jamie G, what's your favorite moment or scene for the episode?
For me, I've got to go with the chase. The motorbike chase was really cool. I loved how it was shot. Great scene. And, just there was humor in it, but yet it was like action. And I just love all the way from the beginning where Barry's just sitting in the rental Toyota Corolla, and they're literally like in his car, like taking pictures, talking whether or not it's him or not, all the way up to, she's on the roof and used car dealer shop and getting shot there with the rifle. So I loved it, dude. Great scene. Has to be my favorite of this episode. That brings us to, boy, oh boy, it's that time where we got to give our Greek freak of assassins our MVP of the episode. He puts the M in MVP, and that's my guy, Mitch. He clearly gets it for me this episode. My favorite part of the episode, all the Mitch, all the beignets, everything. Let's do it.
All hail the Hypno Mitch. What can I say? He's right up there. If we had done some power rankings this episode, you could have made some good arguments for who came in second or third. But dude, Mitch is a banging business. Everyone's got line around the corner. They're dying to go there, and he gives Kick-Ass advice. And he also seems to be in a very good place mentally. So shout out Mitch, can't beat that. That brings us to the part of the episode that back in the day, all the people in the acting class cared the most about. And we are no Roddy T's, but we are going to grade this episode. In honor of Henry Winkler, Gene Cousineau himself, we grade each episode of Barry on a scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies.
Because I'm the Fonz, huh? Hey.
Hey, I'm up first on this one. 9.0, 9 out of 10 Fonzies. There were a couple of plot points that just, it's that part of my brain. I can't overlook the idea that Fuchs survived that, and then kind of the other stuff that doesn't make sense as far as the timeline. But honestly, those are my only complaints. Every character moment works. It's hysterical. The chase scene is probably maybe either the best or the second best action scene Barry has done, depending on how you want to rank Ronnie Lilly. So fucking phenomenal. Jamie G, throw some Fonzies on this, please.
Hey, I'm right there with you, man. I'm living in the same universe. I was kind of in between 88 and 92. You said 90. I'm gonna one up you. Price is Right style. I'm going 91. It was really good here, man. 9.1 A's on the Fonzie scale for me, dude. Really good. Again, same exact synopsis as you. Love the episode. The show just keeps getting better and better and better. I think it's safe to say that Barry is not fucking around. We got a huge cliffhanger there, and there's only 2 episodes left this season. Let's try to make a couple of smart predictions before we begin wildly speculating on the future of all things Barry.
Right off the bat, we talked about it before. Do we see NoHo Hank go to Bolivia to rescue Cristobal?
I'm going to say yes. I don't think that romance is done. And I think it backfires on him, and maybe Barry has to go save him.
I want to say yes on the rescue, but we find out that he's actually still being held in the LA area somewhere. I guess they could shoot it pretty easily if they just do interiors. It's not like they actually have to go to Bolivia. But for some reason, I think because I think we got to see Elena come back again, right? You don't bring her on just for the one. I think that'll be a big part of the last 2 episodes. And I don't think they want to put NoHo Hank. I guess they could just put him down there. Maybe he goes with Batir and the rest of the guys or something. But I would probably prefer them to stay in LA, so maybe we can get a little bit of crossover between the different character plot lines in the finale or something like that.
Tell me the answer is yes. That's all you got to do is say yes, yes, yes. But we're going to see or hear about beignets by Mitch again, right? We can't just have this be a one-off, can we? No, please no.
I think it would be funny if, as long as he comes back at some point, if he just kept trading up, like he's I sold the beignet business, now I sell new homes or something, just if he just kept coming up to the point at the end of the show he's running Facebook or something like that, I think that would be amazing. I want more Mitch. Unfortunately, because we've gotten so many of the one-offs, it seems that the Limonada girls are the only one that's come back twice. I don't think we do, at least not this season, but I want to. I really, really want to. I hope we do. Fingers crossed, but they got a lot going on these last 2 episodes. Not sure we get to see Mitch again. And I mean, this is a pretty obvious one, right? Barry lives, doesn't he?
He has to. I mean, there's another. They're not going to do an entire season without Barry. That's why
fucking wild if they did.
It would be. That's why I wasn't a huge fan of that, just because I don't believe that there's even a remote chance that Barry dies there. I like the foaming of the mouth. I wish it would have been something else. But then again, they just shot Fuchs in the heart, and he was fine within 7 minutes. So I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
Barry
they're going
dies.
with a little bit of a heightened reality, I guess. Like now we've had a house explode, a freeway chase scene, the plants raid. The show is definitely growing in scope, and they have since that, the monastery massacre there at the end.
Yeah.
So it makes a little sense, I guess, right? The show has continued to increase in scale, even though it's still basically based in Los Angeles. The budget's probably grown a little bit. They're doing bigger things, and I'm still there for all of it. No complaints or anything.
Right there with it. Do we see Albert show up or anyone else show up at that dinner, or is it just Barry alone? Somebody's got to come if he is going to survive.
So give me the prediction. How does Barry survive? My best guess is Sharon has a change of heart. She sees him dying and she gives him the antidote or whatever, because that makes the most sense, right? She'll actually have the antidote, know what it is. Because if someone else shows up, how much time are they going to have? Even say Albert walks in the door, he could do CPR or whatever, but unless he has the antidote, Barry looked like he was already choking and stuff. How long can an ambulance get there in time?
I mean, he wasn't just choking; he was foaming at the mouth, bro. I mean, that's like cyanide. That's like you eat a cyanide.
So I got Sharon just having second thoughts and reviving him. What do you got? How does Barry survive?
I got Fuchs coming in and saying there's no way he gets to go out like this.
Despite the fact that he's been just recruiting people to take him out. Now he's
I think he has a change of heart and somehow, some way, and he talked Sharon into doing it, is my guess.
I am cool with that. I am not going to hate. And speaking of kind of people getting shot randomly, at the end of last episode, we saw Julie shoot Kyle. Don't see him at all this episode. Do you think we ever see him again?
I hope there's some sort of resolution with that. I mean, that's kind of a big deal to just kind of do it and then just have it go away forever. I mean, the mom shot the son, Kyle, like in the chest.
I'll piggyback off what you said last episode. You thought Kyle died. I wasn't quite so sure. I think it makes more sense, especially because Annabeth Gish, she's enough of a name actress. I think you'd get her for a little bit more of an arc, so it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle dies and then she randomly comes back in the finale or something like that. So that's the way I would lean there as of right now.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me though, dude, because there's been a lot of these big things where it's like, all right, clearly there's a fallout there and they just haven't really, they've just let it go. We never hear from it again. So I guess it could go either way. It wouldn't surprise me.
All right, here, a little guard your groin, gun to your Special Agent Johnson or your Special Agent Albert, whatever way you want to call it. Will we see the following characters again in the final 2 episodes? Will we see Joe Mantegna again?
I gotta believe we see him one more time.
I want to, but I'm saying no. How about Natalie? Didn't see her this episode.
I think we get her one more time.
I'm worried we won't, because if Sally's just going to work in a writer's room and she's moved back home, she probably can't employ Natalie. I think it would be maybe cool if we see Natalie again and it's that Lindsay has signed Natalie as a client now or something. So then Sally starts worrying if Lindsay's really representing her interests properly. I think that would be a cool plot line. And obviously want to keep Darcy Carden on the show as much as possible. How about Laws of Humanity? Are we just done now that Gene has his own show?
As much as I hate for it to be done, I think it is. Just because, I mean, the guy's name is Hugh Manity. And it's Mr. Manity.
Awesome,
it's Humanity.
Right? It's fucking
great.
Awesome.
It's brilliant.
How about Batir? No Batir this episode, and the rest of the Chechnya gang. We should get them back again, right?
We got to get them
bring
back.
them back in for his rescue attempt.
Absolutely, we got to get them back.
And I think we'll get Andre, the elder from Chechnya that Michael Ironside played last episode. I think we get him back again.
He's got to talk to
well.
Batir about his future. I mean, that's this crazy town shit. I mean, he's got to talk to him about his future, man.
I mean, this is crazy, but he should call him. Maybe.
What about Jim Moss? Do we think that this has to be something, right?
That
the way
dude
they
seemed like a bad
and...
motherfucker, and I've seen the actor in a couple of things. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's a fairly well-known character actor. Not the kind of guy you would bring in for nothing. Of all the Vengeance Panthers, I'm like, oh shit, this guy can match Barry, right? Even the biker, they were very good at the biker part, not so good at everything else, including their firearm accuracy. This guy, Jim Moss, he seems like the real deal Holyfield right here. I'm worried for Barry in this one. He seems like the kind of guy who could take Barry out.
Yep. He seems like he's not playing around here. And
we talked about this briefly, but the police chase, the car dealership thing, is there any chance that Albert recognizes that this was Barry somehow, or that it's connected and this really expands the scope? So now there's real cops, more, not just Big Cat and Detective May Dunn, but there's other competent police officers looking into it, maybe?
I think that it's probably going to just be never talked about again, but I do like that they keep developing Albert as a super competent, hard-nosed, disciplined cop who knows what it is, but he's working the steps to kind of prove it. And, that would be a good way to do it. I don't think they bring it back up again. I think it's just kind of a done deal. Just like a woman on a bike, dad on a roof of a used car dealership. I don't know that we ever hear about that again.
Fair enough. And how about Jean and Annie? It seems pretty apparent she's going to take the gig for 100% of the dough, right? That's my question. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see Jamie G is doing the finger in the circle, the insertion thing. So do you think they wind up getting back together after Jean has kind of restored her professional reputation and bank account?
Yes, I think they do. I think she is charmed by that Kusino magic, and Mean Gene gets all the way up in there, and he finds love again, and he finds passion and a spark and purpose while righting a wrong, which he is obviously dedicating his life to now after his near-death experience with Barry. Yes, I think it makes way too much sense for that not to happen. Now, will Barry have to kill her somehow and do it again to Gene? That would be the interesting thing.
See, I think that's probably a bridge too far. I was going to ask you more. So do you think in season 4, when we open season 4, hopefully that's not 3 years down the road or whatever, are Gene and Annie still together in episode 1 of season 4?
I am going to say yes, because there's only 2 episodes left. I don't think they can make them fall in love and have it end in 2 episodes. I think that's got to stretch over. And,
yeah, right. Because they
keep that storyline in their pocket for next season.
I agree with you there. I think it makes a lot of sense, like that you're sticking to your guns there. Oh, dude, Fuchs. So he had an Anna and an Anita fall in love with him before the end of the season. Do we see one more wonderful woman whose name starts with the letter A fall in love with Fuchs?
I really want there to be. How crazy would it be if it was Annie?
We got Alana, Alanis. We've been talking about Alanis Morissette. What if Alanis Morissette shows up and she's Fuchs's third love? I mean, you can see Alanis Morissette racing goats, right?
Dude, I mean, it'd be a little bit ironic, don't you think? A little too ironic.
Yeah, I really do think.
Yeah. I hope so. Fuchs doesn't deserve
it. No, fuck
it.
that. He's had 2 chances. He should not get a third chance. Dude.
Exactly.
He was how hard it is batting way outside of his league twice in a row.
Oh, he's outkicked his punt coverage twice. Like it's absurd. He shouldn't get a third time, but things happen in threes, my dude. Things happen in threes. So I think that's a wrap here on 710 North. Here's what's coming up next on the Barry Podcast.
Next on the Barry Podcast, we will be covering episode 7 of season 3, titled Candy Asses, which is directed by Bill Hader and written by Liz Sarnoff. Look for the next episode of the Barry Podcast to drop on Wednesday, June 8th.
Thanks again for checking us out. The Barry Podcast, we are presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. Go check that out as well. We really hope that you enjoyed listening to this and or watching us. I'm in cut off sleeves for you, so like you should. Mills has a Barry shirt. Like, watch us, but also listen always. Really appreciate you remembering to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It only takes a moment. It's a big help to us. We really, really appreciate it. Mills will tell you how much he appreciates it, probably 8 times, maybe 9 in a row. Mills, please tell the audience where they can find all of our super chill, free content.
Love the super chill content, and you will find us at Beignets by Mitch, which you can find by searching for Beignets by Mitch on, I'm sorry, I really want to know where the Detonate I guess we're just the Barry Podcast. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. We're on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on social media at Barry Podcast, and you can send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We're just wrapping up our coverage of Ozark from Netflix. We're the Ozark Podcast on your podcast joint and on social media. We are covering the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul from AMC on Saul Over Soon on your favorite podcast joint again, and on social media again at Saul Over Soon. And we covered season 6 of Peaky Blinders on PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast on your favorite podcast joint and on social media at Peaky Podcast. And they're about to drop that 6th season on Netflix. So if you've been waiting for it, it's about to happen. Please ride along with us. It was an excellent time, and we won't stop covering It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on The Night Pod Cometh. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Night Pod Cometh. Thank you again for checking us out. I don't know if I hit 8 times, but thank you. Please, and thank you very much. I am Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G, and we hope that you enjoyed this, but if not, there's no need to worry. I'm pretty sure that people can change.
And always remember to turn off Wi-Fi before you press the detonate button.
This has been the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Barry, HBO, Alec Berg Inc., Han Arpley, or Warner Brothers Television. The views here are those of the host only, and they do not reflect those of any other person, organization, or entity. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. This looks nice. It's 40% off. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to be doing acting anymore. I found a new community with my Marine friends. I'm trying to move forward by going into the past like Marty McFly. Lol. Sir, you're talking too loud. Shit, I'm sorry. Just please, Quacky, Shame, Jonas Brothers, haha, Fresh, Sally. I understand if you do not want to talk to me again. I will find you spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine, Barry.